You order a chicken salad sandwich. You don't take it apart and examine it. You just eat it. You marry someone. You don't follow his every move or put a low jack on his butt. You just live married life. We elect leaders, assume they are honest and trustworthy to run the government, and we let them do their jobs. No daily analysis. Is it really chicken? Is he really faithful? Are they really honest? Chicken, marriage, and the government. For all three, you just have to have trust. In God we trust. In this government, not so much. Hello and welcome to Justice. I'm Judge Jeanine Pirro. Thanks for being with us tonight. This week, more disappointing reviews for the real losers of D.C. Hookers and drugs in the State Department, Big Brother invading your privacy, and more vindictive retaliatory acts towards those Americans perceived by this administration as the enemy. But the big question is Edward Snowden, the whistleblower who told us that the government collects information about every one of us, a hero or a traitor? I'm personally not sure yet, but I'll tell you who the heroes are not. They are not Director of National Intelligence James Clapper, who lied to our faces after swearing to tell the truth in front of a Congressional Oversight Committee.
Does the NSA collect any type of data at all on millions or hundreds of millions of Americans?
No, sir.
It does not.
Not wittingly. There are cases where they could inadvertently, perhaps, collect, but not wittingly.
Within weeks, that sworn testimony proved to be an out-and-out lie. Even clueless Clapper had to admit it. Now, where I come from, that's called perjury, and we don't hesitate to indict and lock people up for it. And Attorney General Eric Holder. He's certainly no hero. He took an oath in front of a Congressional Oversight Committee, lied to their faces, saying he knew nothing about an outrageous search warrant for reporters' records and emails when he actually approved the request. You remember him, in over his head Holder, who thinks the way to solve gun crime is to hand free assault rifles to the Mexican drug cartel and then lie and say he knew nothing about Fast and Furious. And heroes certainly are not people like Hillary Clinton, who said that hateful video caused the massacre of 4 Americans in Benghazi. You remember her, the one who dodged that sniper fire after landing in Bosnia. That was the truth until footage showed her calmly walking across the tarmac with her daughter. Hillary Clinton, the one who said 9/11 affected her deeply because Chelsea was jogging around the World Trade Center that day. That was her truth until Chelsea told the press she was actually in bed watching the coverage on television. So when deciding whether whistleblower Snowden is hero or traitor for alerting us to what the government was doing, the president says, trust me, don't worry, be happy.
People can't trust not only the executive branch, but also don't trust Congress and don't trust federal judges to make sure that we're abiding by the Constitution, due process, and rule of law, then we're going to have some problems here.
Mr. President, with all due respect, we already have some problems. The retaliation against those who are your political enemies is unprecedented. The seizure of press information, unprecedented. The collection of this information by the NSA, unprecedented. In truth, your lack of transparency is unprecedented. But you say we should just trust you.
I think on balance, we have established a process and a procedure that the American people should feel comfortable about. But again, these programs are subject to congressional oversight and congressional reauthorization and congressional debate.
Really? It's your administration that repeatedly commits perjury and lies in front of those very oversight committees. How can we possibly feel comfortable? So now, a script rewrite by the real losers of D.C. Shift the plot and scare them. FBI Director Robert Mueller says national security has been harmed by Americans knowing that they're being spied on.
But let nobody be misled in this. This hurts national security.
Really? Hurts national security? You really think that people sophisticated enough to take on the United States of America don't know that their phone calls can be tracked? Hell, when I was a DA investigating the mob, I looked for alternative ways to gather intelligence because even those low-level bozos knew we were listening, and they knew to throw their cell phones away 10 years ago. Do you really think that Abdullah is calling Osama saying, hey, I just read the Washington Post. Those Americans, they're collecting all our Verizon numbers. We got to move to AT&T. And when you do, don't use my credit card, use Mahmoud's. Now, even I told you a year ago that Google was invading our privacy. Their motto is do no evil. But should Google's motto instead be do no wiretapping? Shocking. There are now reports that Google is the one sending our information to the NSA. But don't worry, be happy.
This program does not target innocent Americans in any way, shape, or form. These programs have helped keep America safe. They've enhanced our ability to go after terrorists who want to bring harm to the American people.
Really? You didn't catch the Boston bombers. These guys were constantly on the phone with Jihad Imam, living in the country from which they all fled political persecution. These Boston bombers were all over the internet and YouTube trying to be famous, and your data collection couldn't find them. It was civilians who identified Shahzad, the Times Square bomber. It was civilians who identified Abdul Muttalib, the underwear bomber. Civilians identified the Boston bombers and that nut job at Fort Hood communicating with al-Awlaki, the apparent bin Laden successor. Remember the guy you took out with a drone? He had to shoot about 50 people before you knew he was in your midst. But by collecting hundreds of millions of our records, you've thwarted dozens of terrorist events.
It's dozens of terrorist events that these have helped prevent.
But this genius could only think of one. And by the way, if terrorism and our security is so important to you, Mr. President, why do you keep cutting the military budget? And Mr. President, you say you want our blind trust. Nothing about your administration can be trusted, from the failure to give the order to save Americans in Benghazi and the State Department's fantasy and made-up narrative, from the IRS targeting your political enemies and that agency lying about it, the Department of Justice targeting the press and lying about it, and now the NSA collecting unprecedented data and lying about it. The script just doesn't work anymore. The fairy tale doesn't work anymore. The real losers of D.C. just can't be trusted. Here's something for you. I can't trust you, I don't trust you, and I won't trust you. You don't deserve to be trusted. That old chicken salad, marriage, and the government. It seems the only thing we can trust today is that chicken salad sandwich.